Discover the warmth of South Africa's capital city. A destination like no other. A world in one. Meet our Big Five family. Immerse yourself in our cultural diversity. Trace the steps of our walk to freedom. Experience our spirit of adventure. Feel our township energy. Discover our boundless entertainment. The city of Tuan is the representation of South Africa's tapestry of diversity. Our attractions embrace South Africa's rich cultural heritage and the histories of
the other colleagues can start, and then I'll start checking for
the commercial hub of South Africa. Tuan is on the cutting edge of industry, knowledge, technology and innovation as we produce 60% of South Africa's research output. With world-class infrastructure, we offer a variety of top-class business and convention facilities, easy access to the South African national government facilities, and a large number of embassies and foreign missions, all making Tuan a wonderful host that can cater to your every need. So, whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, make Tuan your destination of choice. Discover Tuan.
About the 51% that seems to be not collecting. In that 51%, there should be a number of those that are connecting illegally or have breached the meters. And we do, of course, do some audits in terms of auditing those installations. And as we indicated, the elements that we normally confronted with on site, of threat and intimidations, we see how we counter them with Metropolis. It's a work in progress, I must say. Progress or performance is not to the satisfaction of the department. As we've indicated in the report, we have committed in this 2023 financial year to make sure that we focus in that particular area. And of course, we can then be able to remove or normalize those that we suspect they might have connected illegally in the process. The education and awareness is something that we are doing as a department just to encourage our customers to make sure that they claim for their 100 kilowatt hour FBE. And it's an initiation that we normally engage different ward councillors in different platforms just to make sure that as and when we get an opportunity, we are able to share the information with the community as well. And of course, in all our customer centers, as and when customers comes to procure or buy electricity, they are also advised and encouraged to make sure that they continuously come and buy. And of course, they encourage others as well to make sure that they claim this initiative that is put before them. The actions for the harsh actions in terms of the harassments that we normally encounter, from the department point of view, we normally withdraw from site for the safety of the employees. We normally make sure that we protect the infrastructure of the city, especially your vehicles not to be thrown, damaged through stone throwing. And we leave site and we replan with Metropolis and subs where possible. How many indigents are still outstanding? From what we have received from finance, we try by all means to make sure that the installation takes place. And it's a difficult question to answer in terms of how many, because as I say, we normally get the data from group finance. So I think we still have to engage further and see how we are able to install those that might be outstanding. What is hampering the process? We have indicated that what is hampering the process, I guess, is in terms of the installations. We have indicated that for those customers that we have identified, we seek information. We have successfully planned the installation of the meters in terms of retrofitting of the conventional meters with prepaid meters. But we have encountered a number of confrontation from the affected customers in terms of intimidations, whereby customers they are literally refuse for the installation of the prepaid meters in their premises. But then what we then activate the credit control activities to make sure that where we find illegalities, then we enforce either removal of the cable or removal of the connection in that order. But it's the area that we also still working on, just to make sure that we realize improvements. As we can see that from the numbers that are captured in the report, we are still lagging behind for successful 100% installation of those prepaid meters to the deserved customers. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mangani. Okay, there's a follow-up question from Councillor Simpeng. Councillor Simpeng, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't get the response to how many indigent customers have been deregistered so far.
Chair, we as I indicated, the data or the registry is kept by social and economic, social development department within the city. As to the exact quantities as a department, we don't have, I guess we should be able to engage the department just to get the relevant or accurate details in that regard. So we don't have such information at the moment because we don't keep data of such information. Thanks.
Okay, so is there anyone from social development that can respond to that question? How many people do we have on the indigent register?
Chair?
Yes, Councillor Simpeng, you'll also be followed by, while we wait for social development, you can proceed. Then Councillor Mabusela, I've noted you.
I'm being misunderstood. I'm saying how many indigent customers have been deregistered, not registered, not pending registered, deregistered, taken off the indigent list.
Okay, yes. I think Mr. Machita is here. He'll assist with that question.
Good morning, Chairperson. I think the point, we note what the councillor has raised, and the response is as follows. registration and deregistrations are issues that are dealt with by the other sister department. What we can then be able to confirm is that the indigent register will then be able to say, no, these are the number that are for electricity, for water, or for all other services as such. When after 12 months, in terms of the policy, then they continue to be deregistered periodically. And that information, if it's required, it's an information that will then be able to be a follow-up update that we can provide jointly with social development to give you the full number of how many have been registered. Because also, Chair, that the question cannot be without a time frame. Because if you say how many have been registered, when? Because the policy is very clear that periodically, when do they register you in that fashion? And if your condition improve, we'll deal with that fashion. And I'm saying that if they need, the councillor need further clarity on that matter, we can come back, but we'll through your office chair, there must be able to be clarity as to for period 2021 to 2022, 2022, 2023, in that fashion, so we can then be able to provide for you, because it cannot be since 1994.
Okay, I think we can do it in that way. Karabo will do this in writing and then just send to the department, or when we have one of our departmental hearings, we can then engage them further so that you can get the information that you require. Councillor Mabusela, followed by Councillor Mula.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Councillor Khate, you come after Councillor Mula. Councillor Mabusela, you can proceed.
Yeah, Chair. Just from the colleague who was responding to the question, I'm interested in your report in page 7, where you indicate that you had, as the department, experienced the decline in terms of with regarding to indigents who are not collecting or claiming their monthly free units. And you further said that you might suspect that those indigents have either breached the meter or connected illegally. That is a strong statement. So I want to understand, is there a program of action in addressing this, particularly around the issue of those who we suspect that they either breached or connected the illegal? Is the department embarked in a program of action to ensure that there is a corrective measures about these issues? And if yes, can you please indicate in terms of what is it that is being done, and if people find to be breached and so forth, what are the repercussions thereof? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Mula.
Thank you, Chair. I think I must rephrase a question. I would like to now ask, have any indigents been sent on a list to social development to be deregistered? And if so, how many? Because this report clearly says they should be. But if nobody has done anything, they will not be deregistered. So if the official could please explain to us or give us, have any lists been given to social development for deregistration in the last financial year? Yes or no?
Hey, thank you, Councillor Mula. Councillor Khate.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I wanted to ask a question on the prepaid meters.
are we still having problem with the ESCOM areas? The ESCOM areas, there's still a dispute between Tuan and ESCOM areas as far as like Harangua Maupan, as far as connection of prepaid meters to Indigent is concerned. Because when there's electric challenges, it becomes a dispute between the two. And again, I wanted to check that, isn't it, if you are giving a report on indigents, part of the information I would expect would be the people who come into the system and leave the system within the financial year. So I don't think the councillors are out of order asking how many, what is the percentage of usage? We had 2,000 people, 5,000, we had 2,000 people, 500 left the system. I knew 500 came in, we still have 2,000. I feel that this information that was supposed to be part of the report, at least on a financial year, maybe you can say the last financial year, this financial year, and make the projected financial year as part of the report. I would expect that, so that we know the usage of these indigents, if it's still a need for the city or not. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Over to Mr. Mangani or Mr. Amuchit.
Chair, thank you very much, and councillors, for those questions. We will respond to those. The program of action for the customers that are either found or suspected having breached or illegally connected, what we normally do, we do an audit. We conduct an audit because from the system we are able to see the buying patterns of customers that indigents that are connected on the system. So we do conduct an audit, and from an audit we are able to see whether the meter is faulty or there are elements of tampering. And the challenge that we encountered as a department in that regard is that there has been some intimidations from the customers as and when we're supposed to perform those audits successfully, and we have not completed the exercise, and is what we are planning to do in this financial year to make sure that customers that the buying pattern we see is not positive, we are able to drill deeper into what is happening on site physically on the installation. So we should be able to, if Chair allows, if there is a need for an update report, we can then be able to indicate those details. In terms of the how many have been registered, I think we take note of the question, Chair, and perhaps councillors are correct. That question is not fully answered in the report. Currently, as we are sitting in this meeting, we don't have that data, but we can confirm that we should be able to provide that data at a later stage, or if ever there is a need for the information to be submitted later, I think that we can still do as well. It goes back to say, even within a particular financial year, how many have been deregistered. Of course, we have not covered that data in the report. We don't have it at our disposal at this point in time, and we should be able to successfully submit or share the information at a later stage. The ESCOM areas, there was a question from Councillor Cutler whether there is a dispute on the connections. From what we know, with our ESCOM colleagues, the information that the city submits in terms of what has been approved on the indigent, they do the installations, and as and when they're experiencing challenges, they share with us, and as and when there is a need for the city to support or intervene, we will also do so. So from what we know, we don't have any challenges. We have not received any concerns from ESCOM on the challenges at the moment. We assume that installations are taking place successfully, and of course we can see that also in the report that is happening. There might be a backlog from ESCOM, just to make sure that from what we have submitted to them as the city, they fully make sure that our customers really get what they deserve for that. And it's a matter that we should be able to take up with ESCOM just to make sure that we we get successful installations in areas of backlog, Chair. Thanks.
Sorry, Chair, we can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Hello. Okay, mine is on for some reason. I'm switching off.
Can you guys hear us? Online, we still cannot hear. We could hear Mr. Meckler, we can't hear the Chair.
Water and ice. It's our ISIS water, so they don't have to worry. I'm just attending MPEG now. I feel spelling.
Okay, we're back on. Okay, colleagues.
Yes.
Yes, there are two hands. I don't know if these are legacy hands or they are follow-up questions. Councillor Khatle, is it a legacy hand or are you following up?
I'm following up, Chair.
Okay, please proceed.
Thanks, Chair. Maybe I should clarify my questions. We used to have instances where customers in ESCOM areas will go 3 months without electricity because Tuan installed a certain type of prepaid meters for indigents that ESCOM doesn't know about. And that will cause a dispute that will go for months with a client without electricity and being caught up between the two, that ESCOM was not supposed to, Tuan was not supposed to connect those prepaid meters. I'm asking, if we still have such challenges, we still have challenges that whereby some people, subcontractors will go into ESCOM areas, connect those prepaid meters and leave clients in the problem, and where councillors have to intervene and they can't intervene. And that's what I'm talking to. I'm not talking about those 100 units that are accredited or when they purchase electricity. I'm not talking to that. I'm talking about that installation of prepaid meters. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Councillor Mola.
Thank you, Chair. I would like a very simple answer. I don't want to hear how next time we will be told if there are and bring lists of how much. I want to know, has the department sent any list at all with any names on to social development for deregistration? Yes or no?
Okay, thank you, councillors. I'll now allow the department to respond to your question.
Thanks, Chair. From me, I need to state clearly that the department does not send lists to social development. The department receives lists from social development of customers that are supposed to be registered as indigent, or who must benefit from a free basic electricity. Same with the Department of Water and Sanitation, the same thing. Therefore, the list comes from social development to the services department. And the services department, on the basis of the tariff aspects, then identify these are the number of customers that are beneficiaries of free basic, and it forms part of a social net in that aspect. Therefore, the answer to Councillor Mula, no, the department does not send a list. The list comes from social development. On the Councillor Hata, the point you're raising, let me clarify it in simple aspects. City of Tuan has got two licensed distributors. One is called ESCOM, that has got legacy of the past that continue to provide electricity in the far-flung areas of City of Tuan. The city and the other portion is for the City of Tuan. For each if each licensed distributor cannot interfere in other spheres. For the customers of ESCOM are ESCOM's customers. The meters that are installed in ESCOM, the City of Tuan, are not our meters. They are not even in our registers in that aspect of our assets. So we will not be able to. But what we do as collectives is that because we're in the same sector, we engage to say, how many of your customers? Because every month when city manager sign the MOU at the start of the financial year, it will say the MOU for free basic electricity, in which ESCOM must then be able to follow up, and that's what will then confirm every time when they send the statement that indeed these are the number of customers that have collected their free basic electricity, and that's the invoice that is provided for ourselves in that aspect. Therefore, where there are issues relating to customers and the councillors being found in the space that Councillor Hata raised, that they are frustrated by the manner in which sometimes people don't have electricity. I think those are issues that can be escalated. We'll engage with our regional colleagues of ESCOM to deal with it in that fashion. Just to close one issue, Chair, that I think we need to also put it clearly, despite the fact that as a department we can then have an outreach program, as all of us towards people to deal free basic electricity or free water and other social net packages. But also what councillors must be able to have their monthly meeting with the community to conscientize them, to collect and to come forth in that aspect. Therefore, it's a two-way responsibility. One, we can put a program, and when we come to the word, we must be accepted by the word council, and the word councillor must then be able to say this is the basis of what we're dealing with in that fashion. And that's why Dr. Mangani was raising the fact that there are other areas when you go, you get chased away because of the manner in which people think that we're coming to disconnect when we're coming to say no. We have realized there's too many low buys or no buys. Therefore, there's a need for you to have to register for free basic electricity or free basic services in that fashion. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, Councillor Farquharson, followed by Councillor Khatle, and then Councillor Mulla, and then we close this off. Councillor Farquharson.
Thanks very much. My question is, are departments scared to speak to each other? Because it sounds like we should have TMPD on this issue. We need social development, and we've got electricity department. Do any of the departments speak to each other about the issue, or is it like the last answer where it's now the ward councillor's fault that none of the departments are working together? So what is wrong with internal communications? Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Khatle, and then Councillor Mulla.
Thanks a lot, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think I'm clear in what I'm saying. I'm not talking about ESCOM providing service. I'm talking about Tuan interfering in ESCOM's lines. At the end of the day, there is an impulse between Eskom and Tuan over the meter. I'm not saying that Tuan is failing to provide service. I'm saying that Tuan goes to the Eskom area, connect the Tuan prepaid meters. Then later on, when there's a problem with those meters, Tuan can fix it, Eskom can fix it. Maybe it's the subcontractors that, if the department doesn't know about that, then I have a problem. Because in my ward, I had a client who went 3 months without electricity because of that. And if the department doesn't know about that, then I have a problem. And another thing, I've been a councillor. What councillor? In Tuan for 7 years. I've never had the department coming to me, talking to me about indigents to say, Councillor, I want to bring a program of indigents. This is what our expectations are. I don't think that the departments are doing enough in engaging with councillors, in trying to make sure that they assist them. They come to wards, work on their own. When they have challenges, then they open councillors. I'm talking from my own personal experiences. I'm saying that it's a two-way stream. We need to have meetings or on a day, meet with the councillor, explain the program to the councillor, tell the councillor what is their requirement, what do you require from them to assist you with, as with the community. But at the end of the day, I'm still saying that there is a challenge of subcontractors or your department going to Tuan line, connecting prepaid meters, and later on, Eskom refusing to fix those prepaid meters, and because it's not your jurisdiction, you also can't. And there's an impulse of the fine charged to a customer of 6,000 because they've interfered with the meter, and Tuan and Eskom are fighting over it, and the customer is left. It happened in my ward. I'm asking if it's still happening, or do you have knowledge of that, and do you have plans, mechanisms in place to make sure that none of your people go to Eskom lines and create such a problem? Thanks a lot.
Okay, Councillor Muller, and then Councillor Jube, and then we'll allow the department to respond, then we do the recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so we have now established that they have not sent a list to social development. So is there actually a list? Do you intend to do a list? Because in the document that you have produced and sent to us as impact, you have given us the report saying 5.1. Comments of the Chief Financial Officer. It is recommended in the report that the approved beneficiaries that reject prepaid meters be deregistered in the report. So let's go to there and say in the next report, it will be necessary for the department to bring us that list that will be going to social development, and that process to be started, as Councillor Farquharson said, where departments actually speak to each other. It doesn't help we say we recommend something. It needs to be done. And we're now sitting with a whole lot of people refusing meters, which means they probably have breached, well, let's call it what it is. They are stealing power from the city. So can we please resolve this so that the city doesn't lose money? Otherwise, we are going to call it fruitless and wasteful expenditure and start collecting it from officials who don't do their work. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Jube.
Chairperson, I just want to make recommendations. So I'll give them an opportunity to respond to Councillor Miller and Councillor Hartley's questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jube. I will allow the department to respond.
Thank you for the question that we have received. The Eskom area and Tuan area, we normally have got segregated responsibilities in terms of the license holders and who must do what in those areas. So the only areas where you find the city going into Eskom areas for electricity work is two areas, is Winterveld and Randstown in the city of Tuan. Otherwise, all the areas that are in Eskom areas, we don't do any reticulation of electricity except street lights and high-mast lights. So in those two areas, especially Winterveld and Randstown, where City of Tuan have installed meters to indigent customers, we don't experience problems where there's a dispute between City of Tuan and Eskom. And I guess if there is such, which we might not be aware as a department, we will humbly request that it be provided, and we can then be able to engage Eskom colleagues and see how the dispute can be resolved. But from what we know, at this point in time, we don't have any disputes in that regard in those areas. The two engagements between the councillors and the officials, I think we agree. Maybe what we'll then do as a department, we'll try to operationalize the program more to the councillors level, so that as and when we have planned to do installation of indigent meters in different wards, we are able to keep the councillors in the loop, and then we can then be able to jointly working together and supporting each other throughout the program in what we'll be doing. I've noted, Councillor Mela, your concern. Probably we were not maybe understanding the question very well, but having looked into item 5.1 comments from finance, I guess it says to us in areas where as a department we went to install or attempt to install the prepaid meters and customers reject. As a department, we then have to submit that information to finance for the deregistering of those customers as indigent customers. So we have noted that. I think we should be able to look into that and working together as well with our social department, social development department. So we will attend to that. And of course, we're working together as departments. I mean, as I indicated earlier on, when we experience some intimidations, we get Metropolis, we get subs, finance and that information. We also interact with our social development department. So as departments of the city, we do work together in areas of common concern. So it's not like we are working silos, but we have noted, and where we have not responded adequately, I think we should be able to do so as and when the need arises. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, can I see there's several recommendations that have been put on the chats? Can we do the recommendations quickly?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, so there's the first recommendation. Do you want to start? Yeah, I think maybe you start the recommendation, then Councillor Maleka will read out his recommendation. Then I'll just advise that we put the recommendations together because they're more aligned. So, Councillor Farquharson.
Councillor Joubert is going to read the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. It's recommended in the report that the approved beneficiaries that reject prepaid meters be deregistered. Impact recommends to Council that the Indigent policy be amended to deregister approved beneficiaries who refuse prepaid meters. Urgent action be taken against electricity users who have either breached the meters or collected illegally. It's recommended by myself, Councillor Maria Baar, and seconded by Councillor Karabo Simfeng.
Okay. There's another set of recommendations on the chats. I don't know if who's going to read it out. Is it Councillor Khatle or Councillor Malulek?
No, thanks, Chair. I agree with you that we should align the views together. What we are proposing is that there were issues that emanated from the conversation in the meeting regarding either completeness or lack of detail on the information regarding indigents. Therefore, we were trying to amplify what would therefore become a solution detailed in the report that might be entertained in November or early in the following year. That would come from the three departments: finance, social development, and electricity, because indigents would then be assisted by the three departments. In many communities, I was in the first recommendation, tried to preface my recommendation that many people are deregistered because of incomplete applications. Therefore, if we get that report, that would outline challenges that are faced by different areas and customers. We will then be able to put our finger to what would be the problem and assist departments going forward. Therefore, you can match what I've submitted with what David Councillor David has submitted. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues. So we will merge all these recommendations on the chats, and then we will have it will be Councillor Jube proposing and Councillor Maleka seconding. Is everyone happy with that? Or as recommended with these amendments?
Yes, as recommended.
Yes.
As amended.
Yes.
Okay, great. I will now move on to the second report. This report is from Environment and Agriculture Management Department, Revenue In-Year Report on Billing and Revenue Generated by each landfill site for the year 2022-2023 financial year and midterm report. This report is between pages 13 to 18. The recommendations are on pages 18. I'll allow the department to table the report, and then I'll take questions from colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. This report is more about the revenue generated on each landfill site, and also give a reflection in terms of the methodology that is being used in terms of conceptualization of revenue from each site. I think Council has approved a tariff of what 230 Rand per ton for disposal at each landfill site. However, as a result of the extreme vandalism of infrastructure on each landfill site, majority of all of the landfill site don't have what we call wave bridges. And as a result, there is a guideline from Department of Environmental Affairs that in instances where there is no way bridges, how should the calculation of landfill fees be done? So in essence, what we do will actually articulate the tonnages into a volume of a vehicle that is payable at each landfill site. When you look at the next page, it therefore illustrates how that was done, which illustrates that for the 10 cubic meter compactor truck and 12 rear end loader compactor per load, which is full, which ultimately it's calculated per tonnage. The payable load should be 1,170, and for the 19 cubic, 20 and 23, it's 1,580. And that is also based on the compaction ratio of the vehicle itself. And for the 7-8 drop site truck, it's 185 per load. So in essence, what we did as a department, obviously based on the number of contractors that uses our landfill site, we always have a database of all of the contractors that are registered with us. Each financial year, we do a projection in terms of the expected revenue, which is therefore illustrated in the next page for each landfill site. And currently, we do have 4 active landfill sites that are currently in operational. So for the 2021, 2021-22 financial year, the projection that we have for the 4 landfill sites, which include Heatherley, Soshanguve, Garantua, and Brocos-Spruit, was 115 million rand. And for the 22-23 was 114 million rand. Obviously, in terms of the revenue generated, for the 21-22, we generated 168 million rand, which is actually above the projected amount of 115. And that was also articulated to the fact that some of the service providers that are actually working or utilizing the landfill site had historical debts that as a city we did manage to apply credit control, and we also recovered that amount in that specific financial year. In the financial year 22-23, out of the projection of 114 million, we collected 85 million rand. The breakdown of that 85 million is made up of 10.9 million it was recovered from a private client, and 74 million was recovered from the contractors that are directly contracted to the city, of which that it's deducted on each invoice that is payable for contractors that are directly contracted to the city. But for those that are not contracted to the city, at each landfill site, there's something that we call a transaction sheet, which registers the vehicles that are supposed to pay. And that transaction sheet is actually reconciled every month, and it's handed over to our finance for billing, and as well as application of credit control measures. So in essence, that's what we have generated in 22-23 to the total amount of 85 million rand. And obviously, this has been attributed to the fact that the deduction of landfill fees on invoices payable by contractors directly contracted to the city started a bit late based on the configuration of the city's financial system to actually deduct the amount directly from the payable invoice. So obviously, looking at the extensive vandalism of infrastructure and the security aspects on this side, there is a still high potential that if we manage to close off vandalism of infrastructure and securities on this side, there is extensive potential of revenue that we can generate from this side. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to note the hands. I just think there's maybe an error on page 14 with the dates. So it's financial year 2021, and then it's 2021, 2022. Then on the next table, it's again 2021, 2022. So just that worth noting. We will start with Councillor Jube, and then she will be followed by Councillor Dikeledi Suloba.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have a few concerns on this report. We have seen now what's happening with the strike action of how much waste is dumped by residents, how many private people go and dump, how many contractors go and dump. We see contractors that's collecting the bins. Then they only load half of the route, and then they go to the dumping sites. What is the control measures of actually between the projections and the actuals in place at the landfill sites? Because I've read that EPWP workers are actually handling the day-to-day administration. Were they ample given a course of actually handling this? What are the measures at the dumping site to control this? So this report is really a huge concern for me, because we can actually collect a lot more revenue. And then with regards to the vandalization of the weighbridges, what was the control measures after these weighbridges were vandalized? Was it reported? What has been done to follow up to get these weighbridges fixed? If I can just get some clarity on that. Thank you, Chair.
And thank you, Councillor Jube. We'll have Councillor Soloa, followed by Councillor Khatle and Councillor Sinthing, in that order.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the one thing that I wanted to highlight on this report is the fact that the department is giving us projections, and there isn't, when it comes to the finances of revenue collected, there is no way where they're actually showing us the actuals that they've collected for the financial year, which is very important considering the constraints that we have in the city. The other thing as well is that, Chair, we have Heatherly, which is projected as contributing a lot financially into the revenue of the city. However, we are all of the knowledge that that site on its own is very problematic with being hijacked by criminal elements, and the fact that people are harassed and when going to drop off there. So the question is, how is it that it's able to generate that amount of revenue when all system control measures when it comes to security and running of it has completely collapsed? The other issue is obviously, Chair, is the issue of EPWP, and to say that what is the training that is provided for EPWP that might be working on those landfill sites, and whether this manual system that they're informing us of them using is actually adequate and it can't be opened up to bribery and people actually just, taking bribes to offload. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Slow. Councillor Khadle.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. Mine is just simple. How difficult will it be to have a system that is of a fourth industrial revolution of nature, that is automated, being on the landfill sites? And number two, I don't know, maybe to the city manager, how do we link this way leaves link with the dumping, with the landfill site? Can we have a process whereby when people apply for way leaves, so that we have more things into our automated systems? When they apply for way leaves to do work from whether national, provincial, or private sector, we get to see how we can have a provision where in the way leave they get to apply to be in the system to use the landfill site, and we get to monitor their litter, because they leave their wastage everywhere. They dump all around the city, and then next thing we have to go and use money as a city to go take it to the landfill site. So how can we link the two and Cyprus? Thanks a lot.
Okay, Councillor Sante.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to find out what conditions of the permit are currently being contravened. How material are those contraventions? What are we doing to rectify the contravening of the permit conditions? And finally, what are the consequences of contravening permit conditions? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I think for me, I also just want to ask the group head. The weight bridges have been not operating for years now. So I don't know if were these plans in the finance, did you guys budget for these and you just didn't receive money for it? Because we feel that this really impairs, or it prevents the city from collecting and properly accounting for the money collected. It is a huge concern for us that you don't have a weight bridge, and all of this is reliant on trust that the people working there will record their things correctly. There are no cameras at the landfill sites, so we don't know how at all you are able to have proper controls on what goes on in all of the landfill sites, because we've been at all these landfill sites and all of them are the same. So just take us through the process. What are the challenges? Because this is not something that has been going on in the last 2 years, but it looks like something that has been going on for years. Some of the landfill sites, like the one in Soshanguve, there's no electricity and running water. So what are your challenges? Maybe as a committee we can help highlight your challenges, but they are not clearly spelled out in this report. And I must just also voice out the fact that I think this report was called for a month ago, and I think you've had ample opportunity to really present something more detailed than what we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the calling of this report was merely around the revenue generated. However, then if the committee still find it good, we can still provide the status and the challenges of the landfill sites, and as well as the appropriate approaches in terms of resolving some of those challenges. But however, I'll respond to the questions that have been raised. I think the current situation in respect of the strike presents different challenges in respect of managing and operating this site. And obviously, Based on that, I think the issues of control and as well as measures to actually ensure or there is proper access control on those sites, it remains a challenge, especially at this time. With regard to the issue of utilization of EPWP, and basically we need to understand that most of the landfill administration as well as operators of the site we have a challenge in terms of the natural attrition. Therefore, hence the result that we are using the EPWP. But there is extensive training that we do provide for those to actually augment the capacity of administration as well as control on those sides. With regard to the issues of security, I mean, this site for many, many years, in terms of infrastructure upgrade, there hasn't been a significant allocation towards extensive infrastructure upgrade for these facilities. So therefore, as a result, the issue of vandalism as well as the issue of security took a center stage. In one financial year, which was, I think, when I started here, 2019, 2020, there was a significant amount to actually secure Heatherly landfill site as being one of the a jewel site that has the potential to create an extensive revenue to the city. But however, due to lack of security, of which that it has been canvassed quite extensively, that fence didn't last long based on vandalism. However, then if we don't have proper access control, therefore each and every infrastructure that is found within the site is not also going to last for long. And the invasion of the Mamelodi or the Heatherly landfill site is precisely because of lack of proper security fencing, including the security itself, to control proper access. And this also applies to all of the sites that we find ourselves in the city. In one financial year, we had a proposal as a department to say the best approach to address all these challenges of our landfill site is to actually make a budget available for parameter fencing, for security, upgrade of the infrastructure. But what we need to do is to totally close one site and secure it completely, have control of the site, and re-operationalize its site as well as after we have concluded those processes. But however, over time, over the financial years, those inputs were made, but budget was not sufficient. I think maybe I will also need to attend to the issue that relates to compliance, in effect that our permit condition is very strict in terms of access control. And as a result, we are not complying in terms of access control. The professional requirements that relates to your regular water quality monitoring, your regular air pollution monitoring, those we are actually doing well on that. But the main issue is access control, non-operation of the landfill site of the way bridges, including amongst others the issues that relate to the engineering designs over a period of time. So there was an issue with regard to why are we not looking at the 4 IRs and interventions with regard to the collection of the revenue on the site. There is a pilot project that it will be starting in earnest. I think the team are just finalizing the implementation approach, and the first site that we'll be starting with, it will be the Heatherly. Together with our group finance, we did engage our primary banker, APSA, who actually proposed a solution of a prepaid approach towards collection of revenue on the site. Obviously, the issue that has been raised by one councillor is to say the current situation might also propel the issue of bribes and so on, and those are the factors that we have identified. As a result, then we requested our group finance to actually explore alternative solutions in terms of securing revenue on those sites, of which one of those is the prepaid solution that ABSA is actually proposing, of which we will be piloting very soon. I think there was an issue raised by the councillor to say the report doesn't actually project how much revenue has been collected vis-a-vis the projection. However, councillor, if I refer you to paragraph 4.2, point 1 and point 2, they'll actually give a reflection of what the site have generated. And I think the issue of the way leave that has been raised by Councillor Khatle, I think it's one of the issues that we just need to look into it in terms of synchronization of application of way leave and the disposal. But however, most of the time in terms of those that are doing construction work, it's actually assisting us in terms of the operation of the landfill site, because we are not buying soil. We expect that those that are doing construction roads, works, all those soil that they are bringing to the landfill site, it will assist us to do a daily covering with it. So in essence, the issue of soil and tipper trucks that are bringing soil, we do welcome it for daily covering, because as a result, if we don't have daily covering, it will be expected from us to go and purchase soil for daily covering in order to run the operations as it's expected by the minimum requirements. I hope that I did attend to most of the questions. If there's any that I've left, I will be guided. Thank you.
I think Councillor Sinthink's hand is up, and just for clarity purposes, I think what Councillor Sulowa meant was when you look at the report under discussion, under the heading of discussion, you've got a table, and it would have been usually what they'll do if they do a table with figures. If you've got projections, you can put the actuals. Just have a column that shows the actuals, and I see that you have put them as a separate item. But because you are discussing financials and you've got a table, it would have made sense to add a column where you write actual and show that this is what was projected and this is what the actual. So just when you revise the report, maybe you can do it in that way so that it's easier for councillors when they are reading it, it can just flows. The follow-up questions will start with Councillor Simfeng, who will be followed by Councillor Khat.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the issue of access control, what are we doing to address that issue? Because now what is of concern, should maybe a person gets into a landfill site illegally or something happens to them, and to a large extent the city could be held liable because they did not meet permit conditions. What are we doing to address such?
Councillor Khatle?
Mine is just a suggestion and input. Maybe we need to look at security in two dimensions: the overall landfill site and the infrastructure of the city, where the way leaves are. We need to see how we can secure that and make sure that they are not vandalized. We don't reinvest many times as a city. So I think we need to look at security, not look at overall landfill site. Is hard to keep the fence around the bigger landfill site parameters, but the control where the way leaves are, the offices are, and the technological stuff to weigh. Let's also, even though we're not protecting the whole landfill site, but we're protecting our infrastructure in case when the landfill site closes, we know we still have that value of that infrastructure. Thanks a lot.
Okay, will allow Mr. Malaka to respond.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the question that has been raised by Councillor in respect of what are we doing in respect of the access control. I think if you enter most of the access control, most of the landfill site from the gate itself, there is a bit of access control for trucks that needs to come. But if you look at the entire landfill site, the infrastructure in terms of the fencing, it's extremely porous. And obviously, as we go along in terms of the budget processes, we have been putting it through just to ensure that there is sufficient capital budget to address those issues. But subsequently, to the reasons well known, we have not been able to do that. So obviously then, as a result, it will have an impact in terms of the available infrastructure inside, in terms of vandalism, and as well in terms of security. At a certain point, what we have proposed is for us to have physical security and physical patrol on all the parameters of the fence, and also invested on quad bikes to actually, because the terrain of the landfill site is quite huge. It needs some mobility to actually check consistently. But however, due to a limited number of physical patrol, that program did not yield as much result. I think what Councillor Khatla has raised, it's a comment that we are noting. Thanks.
Okay, colleagues. So there are no more hands. Do we accept this report as recommended?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Farquharson or Councillor Slower?
Chair, I have recommendations to this report.
Okay. Yes. Councillor Slower, can do your recommendation?
All right, thank you. One, that the department come with a security strategy that can see the city running its own landfill sites optimally. Two, the department look into how it can move from manual recording of landfill trucks coming to offload from contractors. Three, that the department give us the actuals of revenue collected versus the projections placed in table format. This should include the expenditure incurred by the department for running of the landfill sites. Four, the department finishes the committee on the training of EPWP and the rotation of EPWP workers. And five, the department provides a detailed plan on when they are preparing to have the weight bridges fixed and the maintenance plan going forward to prevent breakdowns. Thanks, Chair. I'll also place it in the chat box.
Thank you, Councillor Shulu. Councillor Lishaban.
No, thanks, Chair. I think the hand was up by mistake.
Okay, so this is proposed by the recommendations are in the chat. They are proposed by Councillor Tikeleti Solowa, seconded by Councillor David Farquharson. As recommended?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Right, so now we will move on to the third report. This is from Water and Sanitation Department. Water and Sanitation Department 2021-2022 financial year midterm progress report on installations of water management devices for indigent customers. This report is on page 19 to page 23. The recommendations are on pages 23. Councillor Farquharson.
Thanks very much, Chair. It's a very difficult report to read. It looks like the Electricity Department report on also supplying to indigent households. A boring point of information I want to raise is that the Romans had what they called calixes, which were bronze pipes that they used to measure water distribution. It's a little bit worrying that 2,000 years after the Romans, in the city of Tuan, we don't have the technology to handle water distribution, limited water distribution. So I would think that the complaints or the comments are going to be very much like on the electricity department, that we're not controlling water distribution. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ferguson. I don't know if the department wants to react to that. Is there anyone from the department?
Chair, thank you very much. Stevens, Group Head Water and Sanitation. We received the literature about the Romans. It is well received. Then I tried to also read my sense concern. Yeah, Chair, I think this report is about water management devices. So it's a specific report. We've got water measurement, we've got water meters for domestic water meters in your normal water distribution systems, bulk water meters, and so forth. But on this report, there was a request to speak specifically about the water management devices, and that is why this report addresses the water management devices and specifically linked to the indigent. So to give a background of what was the situation before, what we have done, and we explain that we did have water management devices that we installed in Garankuwa as a pilot. There were issues, and those devices did not work. Fast forward, we are now, and we indicate that we've consulted with other municipalities, our peers, and we developed a spec, and we've gone out on tenders to get the water management devices that are conducive to the current environment. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Notan. I see that there are recommendations in the chats. Councillor Ferguson, can we read them out for recording purposes? Or before that, there's a hand. Oh yes, it's the proposer is actually Councillor Mabusela. So you're the one that's posting, but the proposer is Councillor Mabusela. Councillor Mabusela, over to you.
No, the proposer, I'm not proposing now, Chair. I just want to ask the question first in terms of Councillor David will propose our second in terms of the pilot. Perhaps if to understand was the resources in terms of monetary or money that were used in this pilot, and if yes, how much was money spent on the pilot? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Mr. Nathan, over to you.
Chair, I don't have that information at the top of my head. What we can do, we can come back with a follow-up report and just include the financial aspects, if it's okay with Chair, please. Okay.
Okay, so let's do the recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The additional recommendations are that one, that impact be provided with a plan on how to measure water to indigent households. Number two, that impact be provided with a plan on how water theft is going to be prevented in all areas. While we've brought in all areas, it's not only indigent areas that are experiencing water theft. There's water theft out of fire hydrants, there's water theft out of piping, so we need a comprehensive plan to see what's happening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
the mics are dead again. Can we just get someone from IT to come and assist? Yeah. Okay, we've got these recommendations, but before we read them out, let's just allow Councillor Lishaban. I don't know, are you doing a recommendation or you maybe asking a question?
No, thanks, Chair. It's not a question, but I think that a comment of the last speaker about the provision of the full financials on the cost of the pilot project should have been part of the recommendations and has been excluded. So I was to say that on the recommendations because I could only capture 2 recommendations. And that the third recommendation must be that the department will provide full MPEC with full financials on the cost of the pilot project.
Okay, I think that will align. Can you please type it in the chat box? And Councillor Mabusela, you can add it onto the recommendations. Councillor Mabusela.
Yeah, no problem. We are in an agreement. Councillor Shawan will put it on it.
Okay, so this is the recommendation with Councillor Lishaban's addition. So there will be 3 recommendations. This is proposed by Councillor Mabusela, and we can have it seconded by Councillor Lofi Lishaban. As amended?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we will now move on to report number 4. This is from Regional Operations and Coordination Department. Follow-up on grass cutting reports 2022-2023. The report is between pages 24 to 27. The recommendations are on page 27. We'll take hands. We will start with Councillor Mula.
Thank you, Chair. I have some questions for our colleagues. I would like to take them to page 25. There we have a list of people's payments, the contractors, but it is not very legible. You can hardly read the numbers, let alone the names of the contractors. I don't think this is up to standard. I don't think this is how we should do things. If we have to interrogate a document, we need to be able to actually read what's on it. However, let's use what I can see to ask some questions. What I see on this thing is there are numbers in July and June, huge amounts of money paid, when the report clearly states that the cutting is up to April. It is not in that section of the cutting period. This is in a non-cutting period. So I'd like to ask the question of why were these large amounts of money paid out May, June, July, even up to August, which is your non-cutting season. And then in the cutting season, there are gaps of absolute no payments. Although one company specifically, I can't read what it says, about 6 lines down, has got payments every single month. Are some contractors, second question, are some contractors bigger, or are they given preference over the smaller ones? Because I'm seeing huge amounts of money paid to 1 or 2 contractors, the rest are not. Then on this page, point 4.2, reasons why Region 3, 5, and 7 had low grass cutting figures between January 2022 to March 2023. So we are talking about 3 regions only. The others, 1, 2, and 6 and 4 seem to be, they did not have these same problems. And this is where I am a bit confused. It says in point 5, availability of electronic procurement system. Now, surely that would influence all of the regions, not just 3 of the regions. Abnormal rainy season. If that was the case, then it would affect the whole city, not selected regions in the city, unless there's a way that we have been able to get to change the rain in different areas. Added to that one, I want to say that I've checked on the South African weather portal on what the rain was during this period. And whereas December and November were good rain, January was actually quite dry. February, reasonably good rain. In actual fact, good rain. March was dry. April was dry. May had excessive rain. And I mean excessive. Instead of 3 millimeters, we had 102, 120 millimeters through the city. But now what they're saying is that we had an abnormally wet season. And yet we had abnormally dry months with only rain abnormally high in February and then again in May, which is not supposedly a cutting season. How does that correlate to the report that we are given that says there was not grass cutting as it was extremely wet? Only February, only May. And then it carries on to say performance of contractors was negatively impacted by the following: higher workloads. I don't know why in only 3 regions. Delayed payments. I don't know why in only 3 regions. And community protests and intimidation. There it does clearly state that's in Region 7, and that's the only one that I can find that is regional specific. The others seem to be, which would be across the city. I don't understand this report. Budget constraints. Once again, was the only budget constraints in Regions 3, 5, and 7? Was there not a citywide budget constraint? If we could get answers on these, it would be helpful, please. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lofile Shaban.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I agree with what my colleague has raised, that which grass were they cutting? I mean, we are driving around, we don't see grass because in this period that is mentioned in June, July, where were they finding grass? Because the soil is dry. Where were they getting this? Now, of great concern, Chair, is that this report indicates that there are no attachments. And I always fight about reports that don't have attachments. We are MPEC, we must hold people accountable. So we are, at the end of the day, can be found guilty of the relaxation of duties. We are not doing what we're expected to be doing. We're given incomplete reports like this. And I've got a lot of questions. And the presenter says that there are no attachments. Why are there no attachments? Because as MPEC, we are the final arbiter on these matters. We should have detailed reports with full attachments, even if we've got 7,000 pages. Some of us who might have time will go through them and be able to agree or disagree. So we are presented with accounts, people have been paid, and then we don't even know. There is no supporting documents. If indeed, these are just mere allegations, or they can be verified by attachments. So I'm not happy about this report, and I would be of the view that we'll be given a full report with attachments, so that whatever decision that we take becomes an informed, objective decision, not based on emotions or favoritism of certain officials and so on and so on. So I'm not happy. I would request that this report be presented again with full attachments and an explanation which grasses were people cutting during winter season. Because the report itself, under paragraph 3, I don't know, under Section 3 of the report says that the cutting of the grass is seasonal, predominantly scheduled for the period between October and April. Now you then have a presentation of accounts in June and July. Where were they getting the grass? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Shabani. Councillor Khatle.
Thanks a lot. I'm here sitting here a bit confused whether I should judge the report or the actuals. So I think I go with my colleague, Mr. Chaban, to say that maybe giving proper information, something more clear, it will be easy to make fruitful contributions towards this discussion, because now one doesn't know whether to judge the quality of the report itself or the actual events themselves. Maybe given, if the department is given time to do a proper report, that will speak to things that are clear, the document that is not visible, make sure that it's visible, have attachments of invoices and what was happening, and maybe you get more details on the report. It will assist. Maybe also give the person in charge opportunity to respond. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor Khatle. I think I struggled myself to read the stuff in the report, especially when you're putting in tables. We always have to make sure that it's legible. So I think, CM, this is a conversation that we've had on several occasions. It really has to improve as a committee. And you can see the councillors that we have on the group, they really want to go and read the documents, want the attachments, want to know more. We really don't want to wrestle information out of the administration. So I think it's something that you need to look into and make sure that it's improved, so that we can move forward. So I don't think this report will be accepted. It will be sent back, but I think there were some questions that were asked by the colleagues, so we'll allow someone from the department to respond. There's another hand. I'll take that hand and then allow the group to respond. Councillor Farquharson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just after we've had the responses, I'm going to ask our colleague, Councillor Khatle, if he will support the recommendation in the chat that the report be sent back.
Okay, so we'll allow someone from the department just to... Councillor Shube, please go on mute if you're not on the floor. Asim, is there someone from the department that can respond?
Okay, good morning, Chair. Members, all protocols observed. I'm Putimura, the acting group head for ROC. And thanks. I think we will start with the response. All the responses are acknowledged. And we know we are within a hearing distance of the meeting, and then we'll go back and correct and make sure the report it talks to what the councillors have asked. Just as a first disclaimer, the report in fact was a follow-up report. There was a first report, and correctly so, that first report should have, from what we have heard now, it would have assisted that it is an annex, so that they can be read in relation with each other. So now I will just start by responding to the first question, the questions that mentioned about the reasons why the various regions didn't cut grass and the others cut grass, which will also outline in the report that will follow. Is that just I'm focusing on the first one, where there was unavailability of the electronic procurement system. Some regions, the question was that why did this not affect other regions? In some instances, other regions, they will have an open PO, open purchase order. So they didn't deplete their open purchase order, and that will be able to carry them through the period that the other ones with no open purchase order are not active. And there are various reasons. Budget of regions are not the same. That is why not all of them, they will have purchase orders, even when they are open of equal amounts. And the issue about the abnormal rain, it is part of the reasons we member mentioned that there was excessive rain in February, which forms part of this period. It is not necessarily that for the entire period there was excessive rain. However, we are highlighting that among the reasons that caused us not to cut grass more in those areas combined, one of them, it was the February rain. And also in terms of the performance of the contractors, there were issues, and like I said, all of them combined, they added to the non-performance. There were issues that contractors, delayed execution of work because of a slow payment, or in other instances, no payments at all. So, but like we said, annexures will be able to assist. And then I'll just we've got our finance person who will respond to the first issue around the table that is a little bit blurry, and just to explain the amounts and why other months have got a high amounts as opposed to the others. Just while I take off, is that the amounts are purely taken to when the payments were implemented on the system, not necessarily when the job was done. Martin?
Thank you, Acting Group Head. Chair, morning to everyone on the platform. Yes, as the Group Head, Acting Group Head alluded to, the issue on, we were tasked with including two schedules on the report. One request was invoices, and the second issue was payments. The one that found its way to the report was the one on the payments. However, we need to provide some context to, albeit that the details are small in the reports, it needs to be seen in context of what we could extract from the system. The invoice table is more accurate in the sense that it speaks to the exact date of rendering services per service provider, whereas the actual table in the report itself was extracted because we were tasked by pinpointing the actual payments that were made. However, the only means of extracting payments from the accounting system is by looking at the vendor account. The vendor account does not distinguish between the different contracts which each supplier has with the city. So that's more in the realm of accounts payable. So by the time we hand over the invoices, we give over the process over to them and their system. However, we extracted it from their system, the vendor system, and the vendor system, as I said, does not distinguish between the different contracts which these suppliers have. So you'll find that in the schedule, some amounts in there do not necessarily relate to the actual services for the grass cutting per se, but also includes other contracts of the city. So, but as was mentioned, we will go and revisit the schedules, and then also provide you with a list of invoices, so that you can better disseminate between the information that was provided. Thank you, Chair.
The sound is coming.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shabani, followed by Councillor Khatli.
No, thanks, Chair. I'm covered.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Khatli.
Thank you, Chair. The second response about the inaccurate information that doesn't speak to what we want is the problem that we'll make wrong decisions, and we will really regret the decisions that we make someday because of the kind of information. That's why I was saying that I don't know whether to judge the document or the actuals, because the document, now the gentleman is saying that the document doesn't speak to the actuals, and that's the problem that we have. We end up being misled in doing our duties, and at the end of the day, we found one thing. When we ask for accurate, rather the gentleman should just get into the spreadsheet and retype everything and make sure that we get something that is accurate, and make sure that we get something that we can hold people accountable for what is right and not for what is wrong. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor. So I think on this report, it will be sent. There's been a proposal from Councillor, I think it was Councillor Mula and Councillor Leshabani, that it be sent back. Before we make that decision, can I see there's two hands? Councillor Mare, followed by Councillor Khatli.
Thank you, Chair. The comment is really concerning for me. So it means anyone who's on that vendor list can actually send in an invoice. And it's actually not scrutinized if the work was done. So you get paid for something that's for services that's not rendered. So this is a huge concern for me. This is unacceptable. This is why the municipality is in the state that it's currently in. There's no accountability. There's no consequence management. There's no discipline. So we really need to take a very harsh look at what's happening in the administration. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Councillor Jube. So what we will do, this report will be sent back. I think we will write a letter to the department, and just as a guide, so that we know what the committee is expecting out of this report. You'll get an email, maybe probably on Monday, from our administration, and then they can just guide on what to update. And this report should be brought to the next MPEC meeting of the 3rd of November. Okay. So we are happy with that direction, right? That's what we will do. We will now move on to item number 5. This is calling of reports. Or maybe what we will do is let us go to the first supplementary agenda, and then we will do calling of reports at the end. So the first supplementary agenda is from Office of the Speaker, MPEC Consolidated Annual Performance Report for the period 1 July 2022 to 30 June 2023. This report is between pages 4 to page 183. The recommendations are on page 13. I will take Councillor Farquharson, followed by Councillor Muller.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think when we look at this report, we can see how hard we've been working. It's quite an impressive report. The one problem I have is a lot of the items in the report are said to be done, where we're still waiting for follow-up reports or follow-up actions to be taken. So what I would suggest is that we submit requests for reports for outstanding items. The other thing that worries me slightly is that how many times people have asked for reports. We asked for a monthly report from supply chain management. We haven't received a monthly report. We're asking for monthly reports on the status of disciplinary hearings and recoveries. So we have got to change our processes so that we start getting the monthly reports we ask for. I do have some recommendations, but I'll put them in after all the questions have been answered. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Farquharson. Councillor Muller.
Thank you, Chair. Very much on the same line as Councillor Farquharson. We also need to take cognizance of the fact that our current city manager came in, I think it was the beginning of September, October. And if we go back on page 15, for example, also once again, done. The investigation into the TMPD clothing that was purchased using 30,000 Rand purchase orders instead of using the tender. There are very serious recommendations or questions that were asked there that have to be followed up on. And we don't know if this done means, well, we looked at it and we sent you a report that didn't necessarily have it in. But here you go, this is done. It's not done. That entire TMPD clothing investigation, I cannot see it having been done. And if it has, we have not had report back that it was done, that the officials implicated by being on emails where they ignored reports warning them it's against the MFMA and continued. What has been done about those? There's a number of them that That we can't just say done, unless we are missing something. If somebody can say to me, done means we take cognizance of it. I'm not quite sure. Report on disposal of surplus municipal properties and acquisition of properties for basic municipal properties. I think they mean services. Since 2011-12 financial year, done. These aren't done. They definitely are not done. The library books, there's an investigation requested specifically on that. I have not seen that. I've also not seen on page 23, we asked for a follow-up report on JT Wealthy Brothers, who signed off on all the payments on the invoices that we asked for, following information to be included on a spreadsheet. The date of invoice, the date of payments made, the details of the authorizing official, and if VAT was paid on invoices, as they were not registered for VAT at that point. So it's not done. This is definitely not done. If maybe somebody can answer that and say to us, don't worry, we're busy with it. Done means something else other than it is finished, we have dealt with it. No, that's not been done. It is also the one on Habitech, same thing. Was all outstanding money owed to the city of Tuan being paid across, including proof of dates of the said payments? Not done. We have not seen that. So I'm just adding very specific details to it so that we don't get confused and think it's a general thing. It's very specific. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and thank you, Councillor Muller. We'll get the response from the Office of the Speaker.
Good morning, Chair and Honourable Councillors. Chair, what is happening is that I think councillors might be correct to say that there is information that they might have requested. What would happen is that here the done refers to instances where a report was called for or requested, or a report. In other instances, there are reports that have been referred by council, and then there is reports that are made. So if a committee requests a report, to say we're requesting this report, let's say on Habitat, just to give an example, then the report comes, the report is submitted. When the report is submitted, then the committee would make further recommendation to say, look, we want this further information, or another report. If just to give an example, is that any other reports which most reports that are here, you'll find that the committee would have made added recommendation, which those added recommendations then they request other information to assist the committee with more information. So the done refers to that the report that was requested was submitted to the committee. So the committee did consider that report. It was requested or submitted, but we do acknowledge that there in instances that have been just been mentioned by Councillor Muller, to say that there are these reports where they are what do you call these things, where the committee has requested further actions and so forth. But those are the things that obviously are ongoing. But the initial report that was requested did serve in the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Muller, followed by Councillor Farquharson.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, Mr. Tema's response is not accepted because it says specific questions asked were done, that the people were referred. It has not been done. These are not accurate when you do it this way. It's one thing to say the report was submitted to Impact. Done means done and dusted. We did take action. That is not accurate and it's not true.
Thank you, Councillor Muller. Councillor Farquharson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to agree with my colleague, Siobhan. In some of the instances, we've asked for people to be referred to the SIU when it comes to unauthorized irregular expenditure. And so far, the only SIU proclamation we've seen is for Rooiwal. If you look at Rooival in this report, it says done. That I accept it has been done. The SIU is involved. But if you look at the report either side of Rooival, that says done, but none of the people have yet been reported to the SIU. So done means different things. We're going to have to come up with a different way to say what has been done. When Impact says we want this reported and we want recoveries implemented, we need to know whether that's happening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. I think now there are no more hands. Can we read out the recommendations and then do calling for reports? Please read out I see they are proposed by yourself. Can you read them out? Or before that, there's a hand. Councillor Khatle.
Thanks, Chair. I think maybe I stand to be corrected that our role as MPEC is to make a recommendation and they are approved by council. And once they are approved by council, they become the instruction to the accounting officer. I think it means that we have done our part in making sure that there is a council resolution on a matter. And that matter is in the hands of the accounting officer as a resolution of council. And then it's for council to follow up on resolutions of councils, and maybe it's at another level that we follow up on the resolution, that was that resolution implemented or what. But once we have dealt with the document and with the recommendation, we agreed on the recommendation, and then they're approved by council, and then those recommendations become instructions. We can't do a approval on top of an approval. Thanks a lot.
Yes, I think you are correct, Councillor Khatle. That's what the committee needs to do. So all on that is just to say that MPEC has called for these reports, and what we will then do is follow up, call more reports on the status of all the things that are outstanding in terms of implementation. Councillor Ferguson, I'm going to hand over to you to read out the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The additional recommendations are, number one, that the Municipal Public Accounts Committee takes cognizance of this report and further recommends its approval by Council. Secondly, that the filling of impact vacancies be approved by Council. 3, that the impact annual performance report 22-23 be submitted to Treasury and AGSA. That this report be loaded on the City of Tuan websites and YouTube and Facebook. That impact to host departmental hearings in regions to allow greater public participation. And number 6, that Council to provide and approve operational budget for impact in the upcoming financial year 2023/24, proposed by myself and seconded by Councillor Rodney Mabasulo. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. As recommended?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now oh yes, Councillor Lishaban, I don't know if you're unmute. Is your hand raised?
Yes, and I've also been trying to say no.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so you notice you are voting no. What are you saying, Councillor Lishaban?
I think that we've got a lot of issues and a lot of problems as a municipality, and we must try and save the image of the municipality as far as we can. We have got internal battles, our political difference and all that. But I don't see any need why we must advertise our problems. If our reports must be loaded in YouTube, Facebook and all that. That is the only part that I've got a problem with. What are we seeking to achieve? Because this report, like many other reports, we engage on them, and the majority of the reports that are referred to others are internal problems. So why must this one go to social media? That is the only problem I have. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Can we remove that part, please?
Yes, just for your update, Councillor Lishaban, as a Section 79A committee of the municipality, it's actually a legal requirement that our meetings are held public and that this information. It's, remember, we've got in-committee meetings and the normal meetings, so it's definitely a legal requirement. It's something that maybe may not have been adhered to in the past, but it's definitely something that we are expected to do based on legislation. Colleagues, as recommended with these amendments.
Chair?
Yes.
Yes.
Chair?
Yes, Councillor Jube.
I just want to inform Councillor Leofi that it was actually promulgated in the Government Gazette that any individual, a resident, can request a report that's been tabled on a Section 79 meeting. So it's a legal requirement. They can request the reports from council.
Yeah, well, that I know that it could be a legal requirement, but I was just saying, was there a need for us to publish that? That has been clarified. It's okay, as recommended.
Yes, colleagues, let's avoid a dialogue as recommended, and then others we can clarify in our own committee meeting without the administration. Thank you, colleagues. We will now go back to the main agenda where we will do calling of reports. Can I have hands that call for reports? Councillor Jube, Councillor Mola. We'll start with Councillor Jube.
Chairperson, I have a few questions with regards to the numerous items in this report. Is still not reported to the SIU. When will that happen?
Okay, Councillor Marie, we'll have to write it down. We've got up until, according to the rules, we've got up until Monday to submit that question. And then Councillor Mola, and then Councillor Lovi.
Thank you, Chair. I have three different ones. The first one is with regards to the last report. The subject, follow-up reports on reports where no further feedback has been received by IMPAC. Their motivation is to ensure accountability and recommendations of IMPAC have been implemented. What must be reported on? Number one, action taken with regards to recommendations on TMPD clothing as per IMPAC meeting 15th of July 2022, including who approved the payments and action taken against officials at supply chain management as per the emails in the original report. And I will attach the details from the July IMPAC meeting. Number two, action taken with regards to the inflated prices paid to service providers for library books. Number three, follow-up report requested by IMPAC with invoices for JT Wealthy Brothers. Recommendations of July 2022 will be attached. Number four, follow-up report on recommendations by IMPAC on Habitech report to include the information on how much has been paid to the City of Tuan and what action has been taken to recover the money due to City of Tuan over many years as per recommendations of May 2023, which will be attached. Follow-up report on investigations referred to SIU. Who must report? The City Manager and GAR and anyone else that the City Manager feels needs to be part of the report back. Why is the report on a subject matter necessary? To ensure accountability and that recommendations of impact and council are being implemented. Proposed by myself, seconded by David Farquharson. And then my second one is calling of reports, subject tender for the BRT line 2B awarded to TCT Construction for Linwood and Atterbury Roads. Motivation, TCT Construction has been appointed to do the construction of the line 2B of the BRT. Subsequently, non-compliance has arisen, as well as the project falling behind. The same has occurred previously with the same contractor. What must be reported on and by whom? Group Head Legal, Group Head Roads and Stormwater, and Head of Supply Chain Management. Number one, please provide the information of the tender for line 2B of the BRT, including but not limited to the minutes of the BEC and the BAC, who sat on the BEC and BAC, the appointment letter of TCT Construction, the term of the tender, and the conditions of the tender. Number two, a list of tenders awarded to TCT Construction since 2016, including the value of such tenders. Why is such a report necessary? To do oversight on tenders and compliance to tender requirements to ensure tenders have been fairly awarded. Proposer myself, seconded by Councillor David Farquharson. Third one, subject, Blackhead Consulting contracts, tenders for the City of Tuan. Motivation, oversight on tenders awarded to Blackhead Consulting or subsidiaries, as well as contractors used by Blackhead Consulting. What must be reported on and who must report? City Manager, GAR, and Group Head Legal should provide a list of tenders awarded to Blackhead Consulting and its subsidiaries since 2015 by the City of Tuan, including the subcontractors used and the value of each tender. To include any amounts flagged as irregular which were paid to Blackhead Consulting or subsidiaries, and to include the tender details and an investigation into the tender for Social Development Centre in Mobopane, deviations or fruitless and wasteful expenditure in this regard. Why is it necessary to do oversight on tenders and financial implications, as well as unauthorised, fruitless and wasteful expenditure? This is from myself, Councillor Siobhan Miller, seconded by Councillor David Farquharson, and these are required by November 2023, so we can finalise it in this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also have reports. The first one is that the City Manager, in consultation with Chief Audit Executive for Group Audit and Risk, to submit a follow-up report on Glad Africa and detailed information on the recommendations from the forensic audit. Motivation MPEC is doing a follow-up on Section 32 reports in terms of implementation. This request will be attached to the chats. I've also attached the recommendations from the forensic company that was auditing this issue. This is proposed by myself, Councillor Kulufelo Morodi, seconded by Councillor Marie Jube. The next calling for report, it is the status of leases in the Vonelboom National Airport hangars. This report is proposed by myself, Councillor Kulufelo Morodi, seconded by Councillor Tsebo Khatle. And the both reports need to be submitted to the next MPEC meeting of 3 November. Thank you. Colleagues, are there any other calling for reports? Councillor Mola?
Sorry, legacy hand.
Okay, so colleagues, we have come to the end of our meeting. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you, Chair.